Hey, what's up, Cardfighters? So I'm actually doing this video in the morning of us checking out of the hotel. Like, we're going to check out in like 30 or 45 minutes. I'm like, man, I really just kind of wanted to do this in the hotel before we leave. But this is my ALMAJESTAR mask deck. I really only made like one major change that I was thinking, and I was like really going through all the Dark States cards. I was going through all the Dark State cards on deck log. Like, is there any better card that does what I'm looking for besides this one card? And I was like, not really. So I'm not gonna hold this deck profile off any longer. I wanted to just, because I know there was quite a few of you guys that have been waiting for this very patiently, I might add, for a long time now, for the ALMAJESTAR deck. So I'm gonna go ahead and give it to y'all. The ALMAJESTAR ride line, it's just really the best ride line, especially for this deck, just because it does give you 2 free units on board. Your missing soul is fine. You don't really care about that anymore. And you know, if you soul charge a crit off this and draw a card, that's pretty good for you as well. But you don't really care about that anymore as either, because of Xeno's effect doesn't require you to have crits in your bind zone. But if you do have crits in your bind zone, you just get additional power for it. So going on to the grade 3s. 4 of ALMAJESTAR Mask Xeno. She's the headliner of the deck, of course. You want to play 4 copies of her. Even if you do go first, unless you were able to get 3 crits in bind, you generally want to superior ride into her anyways, just because the multi-attack is that much stronger, and just being able to get like the triple drive for a freer cost is also strong too. And then playing 4 copies of the mask. We're not playing any mask searchers in this deck, so just maximizing the mask at 4 copies and also being a searcher for ALMAJESTAR mask is crucial. That's why we're maxing out in this deck. Versus in Jeweled, we have it at 3 copies, but Jeweled has more of a soul charge engine, versus this deck doesn't have like a really huge soul charge engine, where it's possible that you do soul charge it, but you don't have many ways of soul blasting it during the main phase if you are able to soul charge it. And then 3 of ALMAJESTAR Unica. She enables a pop. She enables your triple drive. There's really not much to say here. You really do like quite, at least from my experience, man. I was like, I got the triple drive off so consistently. The one time that I didn't see it to be able to get the triple drive, I'm like, well, man, this kind of sucks. Like, I really like that triple drive. So that's the main reason why we are maxing out on copies of Unica. And the pop is also very nice, too. Gets rid of interceptors or pesky rear guards your opponent has. Going on to 2s. 2s here is like a major change, at least for me personally. We're playing 3 copies of Clean Sleep Dragon. This is the main rear guard you want to be restanding with ALMAJESTAR Mask, just because you can get him so fat on your Persona Ride turns. He's going to be 35 by himself, not including a boost, and not including any additional boosts you give off of your mask unit's ability, based on the criticals you have in your bind zone. We're still playing 4 Kites Peak. This, I low-key want to take it out, but I'm not too sure yet what I should take it out for, or if I should take it out the deck at all. But 4 copies of Kites Peak. It's a 10k shield. It's a 15k beater as long as you have a crit and bind. And it also soul charges 2 criticals from the drop zone, which can come up, but you're not really too heavily... Like, it's good because you do need to be able to Soul Blast 3 every turn, but you're not too heavily reliant on, like, recycling your triggers into your soul to be able to Soul Blast them anymore. At least in this build. Not anymore. And then 4 copies of Purple Chimera. The reason I'm running Purple Chimera in this deck is just because even if this makes it so that even if you do go first, even though ideally you want to go second, be able to Persona Ride on your opponent and, like, immediately activate the Clean Sleep Dragon, even if you do go first, as long as you're able to bind at least 1 critical trigger, this is a 20k beater by itself, which means you'll have like at least 2 attacks that are 20k with your Vanguard being able to triple drive on your opponent. So going first isn't necessarily a negatory for this deck. But getting onto the grade 1s. We're playing, and this is the card I was talking about in the beginning of the profile. We're playing 4 copies of Gungiram. Originally, I really liked Gungiram in this deck. like just being able to loop draws basically off of your effects off of your Dyna, off of your Kite's Peak, just be able to like, oh, like Soul Blast 3, draw a card, okay, put 2 triggers from the drop zone, put them into Soul, and then draw another card, Soul Blast 3, depending on how many Gungorams you had. But I'm not really focused on that. There was actually like a time that I was just cutting it completely, and it was working out. But then during tournament, I ran into like at least once or twice a situation to where I soul charged the mask and I need a way to soul blast it, and I don't have a good way of soul blasting it during the main phase. And that's where I was thinking to myself, is there another good way of soul blasting it during the main phase? And I was like, I have none. The only way I could do this is Gungaram. So I went back to 4 Gungorams. I was playing Zargons. Zargon really wasn't, it's really an iffy card. It really relies on your opponent hitting. And then there's some times where you don't even need the extra soul. And then there's like other times like, I really need this to hit. And then your opponent knows you really need this to hit, so they don't let it hit. But yeah, that's why we went back to the 4 Gungorams. 1 Blitz Order PG, not much to talk about here. Keynote, this is getting reprinted, so this is really good for those budget players out there. It's getting reprinted as like a tournament promo, and it's also getting reprinted in the deck sets, so that's really good for you guys. 3 DPGs, these are also, I believe, getting reprinted in Festival Collection. And then going on to the triggers. 4 into Soul Crits, most of the time this doesn't come up, but again, it's like one of those things where like, I'd rather have it for that 1% chance that it does come up than like not have it for that 1% chance, and that would have been the 1% I would have needed to win that game. So that's why we're running 4 the effect crits. 4 regular crits. This deck does roll on critical triggers, even though you're not as heavily like, man, if I don't get 3 in the bind zone, I kind of lose. You're not really relying on how many you have in the bind zone anymore, but it does revolve around your critical triggers, so you do want to max them out. Bushy says we can't play 11 or 12. Unfortunately, we're going to have like a little personal chat about that, because I believe Greedon and the ALMAJESTAR deck should have special rulings because they need these yellow triggers. But we'll have a talk about that later. We'll definitely have a talk about that later. Just me and Bushiro, you know. And then 4 normal heal triggers. You can make the argument for the crit heal now just because Gandiva is so popular. I was never a fan of using the extra guard heals on Vanguard swings, especially if it's like a restanding Vanguard or a Vanguard for crit, because more often than not, you're going to guard with that card, and you're either going to make it a 2 to pass or like a fake no pass, because they could always check the OT, and if they break the 2 to pass, more often than not, you lost. And if they hit the OT, again, you lost. So I really not, unless like they're targeted for rear guards, I'm really not a fan of those effect heals, at least right now. Maybe my opinion will change in the future, but like right now, I'm not really a fan of those, because like it feels like it promotes kind of like you playing badly to get like 1 card of value. At least in my opinion, of course. This is all opinionated. 3 draw triggers. I moved from draw triggers actually from fronts, because in the beginning I was playing fronts. I was like a statuette of fronts. Like I was a frontliner of fronts, baby. But the reason I played draw triggers over the fronts now is because this is more of like not as combo as Drajewed, but you do want to see certain pieces. So that's why I moved to the draw triggers over the front triggers. And if you do go first, your hand generally tends to be not that large. So that's another little supplementary like extra card engine that I did throw into the deck. I'm not really missing the front triggers that much at all, just because I am able to not draw like a ton of cards, but am drawing like a decent amount of cards off the triple drive. And now that we've implemented Gungaram back into the deck, he's not the main focal point, towards we're going to try and loop draws like over and over again. But he's there if I happen to do need the extra draw, and I happen to have the extra soul for the extra draw, then he's there as just like another supplementary extra drawing engine. And then one of the Dark States OT, there's really not much to say here. I've been a big fan of the Dark States OT, unless until we get the Cray Elemental OT in Festival Collection, the one that like basically lets you restand a rear guard of 100 million twice, which that would be like insane for this deck. That'd like, you'd go from like 4 attacks to like 6 attacks in 1 turn. So yeah, maybe we play that in the future, but for now I would run this. I actually regret in my Jujul profile that I wasn't running the Cray Elemental OT, the one that gives 200 million swings, because I feel like that's more relevant in that deck because the way it's trying to push for damage, and because like now with Quan Lu, you can just like make it so like, okay, your opponent can't PG these unless they have the Blitzfighter PG. So it makes the Cray Elemental OT more scary in that scenario, but not to knock the Dark States OT at all. Like, this OT is still good in any stage of the game that you hit it. So it's still a worthwhile run, at least in this version of the deck. But anyways, guys, I am going to be packing up to go home very soon. Like, comment, subscribe, share. We just broke 700 subscribers, which is like really amazing, guys, that we broke 700, like literally like a day or two before my actual birthday, we broke 700 subscribers. And I was just really like, I just wanted to thank you guys personally. I get so much love and support from this side of the community. It's crazy to me sometimes, especially when I feel like I really haven't achieved much to deserve what, like, the type of, not the type of treatment, but more of like the type of support that I have been getting. But I would like to give you guys more great content like this in the future. You guys, again, you'll get more videos just like this in the future. So like, comment, subscribe, and I hope you guys have a beautiful day.